A very uplifting story I heard from a very famous rabbi today, one of the most famous rabbis in the world, Rabbi Biederman. He said over his following story. He said that many years ago in Europe, there was a small little shtetl, a small little town. And in this town, they had you had your butcher, you had your hardware store guy, your grocery store guy. They had a Rebbe, a Hasidic Rebbe, and they had what they called the town Meshuggah. One guy, he was the town Meshuggah. Okay, one day he comes to the Hasidic rabbi's Shabbos, the guy who takes care of his appointments. He says, I need an appointment to talk to the rabbi. So the guy says, the rabbi doesn't have time for this. Well, what do you want to ask him? I have a very important question I want to discuss. He says, the rabbi doesn't have time for this. He knew it, guys. He's nudging him, he's begging, he wants. No, rabbi has no time for that. One day the rabbi is going on a trip, and the guy who takes care of his appointments is not around. The Meshuggah runs over to the rabbi and says, I have an important question I must discuss with you in person. So he sits down and he tells him the following dilemma. And you may laugh, but listen to the dilemma. Here's his dilemma. He says, I'm the town Meshuggah in this little town. I have a friend who's a Meshuggah also, like me, but he's in a big town. Let's say he's in Warsaw. And my friend always invites me to come to Warsaw. He says, big deal, you'll be a Meshuggah in a small town. If you come to a big town, you have a big audience. Everyone will... So the Rebbe says, so what's the question? He says, I'm not sure what makes more sense to do. On the one hand, if I go to the big town, then I have a lot of people I can act out in front of. But I have other Meshuggahs also. In this town, it's a small town. But I'm the only Meshuggah, so I get all the attention. So where's it better to be? In a small town where I'm the only one, or in a big town where other guys like me? So the rabbi starts thinking like this, thinking like that. They finish talking, and the Meshuggah walks away, and the Gabbai, the rabbi's attendant, comes running over and says, what did you bother him about? So he says, I had a very important question. He explains to him his whole dilemma. Should he go to another town where there's more Meshuggahim, but a bigger audience or not? So the Gabbai, the guy looks at him and he says, you see, I told you, you can't spend time with the rabbi. You waste his time. It's so crazy. So the Meshuggah says, listen, Meshuggah. But seichel you need, common sense you need. I had to talk to the rabbi. So Rabbi Biederman said, listen, today we're all going crazy. We're cooped up in houses. We can't get out of the houses. It's before Pesach. We're all going crazy with Pesach. Whoever's around us, it's just, but at the end of the day, you still need seichel. At the end of the day, we got to somehow grab ourselves and not let ourselves get carried away and not let it get to us, we've got to be able to just move on and function properly with our seichel, with common sense. So hopefully we're all going to get that strength to do that and not let ourselves get down. It's very important to realize that the situation is what it is. We're not in control. That's clear as day. The government's not in control. Clear as day. Money's not in control. Clear as day. It's God. And whatever's meant to be will be. It's in Him we trust, and that's it. We got to go on with life feeling that we're in His hands, and the Mr. Shem, whatever's meant to be is what He's going to do to us. We should just pray to Him and not let ourselves get carried away with fear. It is what it's meant to be, and that's all. We're in secure hands. Okay, so I want to just remind everyone that the chametz must be sold before Pesach. I'd ask everyone to please get me their documents by tonight. The email, put in my mailbox. I don't mind. There's no charge. I love helping people with it, but I need to get it done ASAP. This year is very different than other years. It's just nothing about this year is the same. And I also want to remind everyone about the Shmura Matzah, a special hand matzah that we have for Pesach night. If you don't have yet, please let me know. I do still have some. I got most of it. What I had, we were distributed, but I still have a little left. If you don't have, please let me know. Okay. Tonight is Sunday night. We're going to have again our Hagaddah class tomorrow night, Monday night. Tuesday night is the night we're going to search for the chametz. Everyone searches for chametz at night. After we search for the chametz, you'll have it in the prayer book or in the Hagaddah. You'll have it there. We declare in English. English is fine. No need to say Hebrew. In English, you're going to declare any chametz we didn't find that we don't know about to be ownerless. We don't want to own it. Wednesday morning, we have to finish eating chametz. The Ben Salem time is 10:23. Finishing chametz by 10:23. That's the last chametz we have till after Pesach. And by 11:42, we have to destroy our chametz. What we had left. Now, we shouldn't have a lot left. We should only have a little left. Everything else was selling to the guy. Normally, we destroy it. We burn it. We get together in front of the mikveh. We have a little fire. This year, we're not getting together in front of the mikveh. So you're allowed to just crumble up a little piece of bread and put it into the toilet and flush it. That's also destroying it. Whatever it is, but and at that point, we're going to declare all chametz, even if we know about it. Do know, don't know, null and void. Whatever's been sold to the guy is sold to the guy. Everything else is null and void. We don't want to own any chametz when Pesach comes. Okay. This year, there's a very unique thing. It's very important to remember this. It's called Erev Tavshilin. I'm going to translate those words for you. An Erev, everyone knows what an Erev is, right? An Erev, we like put the strings around to carry, but this is a little different Erev. Tavshilin means to cook. And the concept, I'll explain to you the concept, and I'll tell you what we do. It's not complicated, but just important to remember. The concept is that the sages don't want the holiday to be second fiddle to Shabbos. They were scared that a person may not treat Shabbos right because you have the holiday right before. So whenever the Yondu is on a Friday, which it is this year, the second day of Yondu is a Friday, we start preparing for Shabbos on Wednesday. We start, and that allows us to finish preparing on Friday. Very simple. All we're going to do is take a matzah, one matzah, and take a piece of cooked food. It could be a piece of fish, it could be an egg. We're going to hold them together, and we're going to say the words that are in your Hagaddah or in your prayer book. This Erev should permit me to cook or bake for Shabbos. You'll put away that food for Shabbos in your fridge, and then on Friday you can cook. So that's going to be Wednesday morning. Midday on Wednesday is 101. So 101 on Wednesday, we try to shave, launder, haircut, cutting nails. We try to do all that before midday on Wednesday. What's the reason? Because Wednesday afternoon is really a holiday. Even though it's not Passover, it's a holiday. What holiday is it? Well, it's a holiday that we used to bring the Paschal lamb on the day before Passover. Today we don't have that. We don't have a Paschal lamb. But in commemoration of that, after midday, we treat it like a holiday, and therefore we try to do all those things before midday. Nightfall Wednesday night is 8:22, and as I mentioned to you last time, although it's not always easy for people, the Seder cannot really start till 8:22, meaning the first cup of Kiddush has to wait for nightfall. The reason is it's got to be the correct day of the year. If we made a Seder tonight, everyone understands we wouldn't be doing the mitzvah. Well, if we did it Wednesday afternoon, we also wouldn't be doing the mitzvah. So 6 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, people decide, it's time for dinner. I'll make my Seder. They may be eating dinner, but they're not doing a Seder because they're not doing any mitzvah of having matzah or 4 cups of wine. It's the wrong day of the year. The day changes at 8:22 at nightfall, and at that point we begin the Seder. We should begin the Seder as soon as possible after nightfall. We're going to start going through the Hagaddah as far as we can get for tonight, and then we will finish up tomorrow night. So Kiddush is the first thing we do on Seder night. When we make Kiddush, we're having the first of the 4 cups of redemption. We can take grape juice, you can take wine. We're going to lean to the left side. Men are obligated to lean to the left side when they drink the 4 cups of wine. Women, it's an interesting thing. Women, it says they're only obligated if they're an important lady. But the Shulchan Aruch writes that all our ladies are important. So all our ladies really should lean to the left side. But there is one opinion that says that nowadays, since we usually don't lean, even rich people don't lean, it's not the way we eat, it doesn't apply today. Men don't rely on that, but women a lot do. So some women do lean to the left side, some women don't. The men must lean to the left side. So we're going to lean. Have in mind when you drink the cup of wine that you may want to take a drink before the next cup of soda or water. Those would be acceptable to have. You can't have another cup of wine till the second cup, but you could have those things to drink. And we're going to make the Yondu blessing by Kiddush. Now, I don't have to tell anyone. It's obvious to all of us the Yondu blessing has special significance this year. Yondu is when we thank God that we're alive and able to do this mitzvah. A mitzvah that comes once a year carries with it a Yondu blessing. We blow shofar Rosh Hashanah, a Yondu. We do the Megillah on Purim, Yondu. We take the lulav and esrog on Sukkot, Shachianu. Pesach night, the Shachianu blessing incorporates everything. Incorporates the matzah, incorporates the holiday of Pesach, incorporates everything. But this year, we're all thanking God that we're alive. This is something that's extremely moving and powerful, and really you have to have in mind, you say Shachianu blessing or Kiddush, simply thanking Hashem that He's kept us alive. We're going to have Kaddish, and then the next step after the Kiddush, we're going to wash our hands. We're going to take a vegetable. We call it in Hebrew karpas. What vegetable is karpas? So some people are going to use a potato. My family uses a potato. Some people use celery. Some people use cucumber. It really doesn't matter. Any vegetable is good. The reason they picked karpas, whichever that meant, was because it stands for a numerical number, 600,000, which is the number of Jews, the 20 to 60 men who are working perech, that's reverse of karpas. They're working back-breaking hard labor. That's why they picked that vegetable, but it's immaterial. Any vegetable is good. You can take that vegetable and we're going to dip it in salt water. So why are we dipping it in salt water? Well, we're dipping it in a liquid, in any liquid, because we want to have to wash our hands. We'll talk about that in a second. But salt water in particular represents tears. And it represents the tears of the Jewish people who were crying so hard when they were undergoing the terrible strain of the hard work in Egypt. So we're going to dip it in salt water, and we're going to wash our hands to eat that vegetable. Now, why are we washing our hands? We all know that we wash hands before we eat bread. That's a law that comes from the Talmud, or rabbinical requirement, to wash hands before we eat bread. There are many authorities that say whenever you have something dipped in a liquid, you should also wash your hands. It has to do with the way they ate truma 1,000 years ago, immaterial to us now. During the year, many people are lenient with that today. Many people are lenient. But Pesach night, we're trying to do things that will arouse attention and questions. So we don't just eat the vegetable, we dip it in the water to make ourselves obligated, according to that opinion, to wash our hands. And we wash our hands without a blessing, but we wash them in order to do something strange. Now, you imagine the scene. You're going to dip your vegetable in the water. Your child's going to ask you, why are you dipping your vegetable in the water? You're going to say, in order that you should ask a question. So what's the answer? Why are you dipping it? So I'll tell you a beautiful idea I once heard, which I think you can all relate to. When I grew up, and as I was a kid, every night for supper was like a very... there was always an appetizer, a main course, and dessert. That's the way supper was. It was, what's the idea of an appetizer? You're going to give someone food to eat, and what is the appetizer going to accomplish? It's going to make you more hungry. It's going to whet your appetite. So it sounds a little strange, right? You're going to eat something, and by eating, you're going to get more hungry. Sounds a little funny. But it works. It's the way it is. The glands not working, the juices start flowing, whatever the reasons are, it works. But the concept is you're eating food in order to get more hungry. What we're trying to show by eating this vegetable, representing an appetizer, is that we're going to do things tonight to arouse questions because we want interest. We want discussion. It's not good enough just to rattle off facts. We were slaves, we became free, manashtana, but that's not the point. The point is to get involved in a discussion. And therefore, in order to arouse that, we're going to do things that seem strange. We'll cover the masa before we eat. We'll do all sorts of things that are strange in order to make a discussion come alive. Even it says that a person's alone, they're making a seder alone, they ask questions to themselves. What does that mean? Again, because it's not just knowing the facts, it's arousing questions, arousing interest. Dave Winograd, I reached out to him about how's he doing. He tells me he's preparing, he's going to have to say to himself this year because of all that's going on. He's preparing 2 chairs. I love this line. It's just such a good sense of humor. I'm preparing 2 chairs, he tells me. I'm going to ask the questions in one chair, and I'm going to get up and sit in the other chair to answer them. I just thought it was just such a healthy way of trying to, but the point is the point, that we're asking questions no matter what because we want to be involved in the Seder. We want it to come alive. We want to have interest. And in that vein, I encourage you, look for stories. Look for stories to say over by the Seder. It's a time, we still have 3 more days, Monday night, Tuesday night, 3 more days to try to look in h.com, the great website, Chabad.com, wherever it is, look up some stories, print out some papers to share by the Seder, even to yourself, to be able to have, to make the Seder uplifting, interesting. It should be reliving the Exodus from Egypt. Okay, so that's the Karpas. And then we're going to go to the next thing we do in Hagaddah. See, normally we do it, we all have the same Hagaddah, same pages. I don't, but I don't know if you have Hagaddah there. Tomorrow night, maybe if you have Hagaddah, we'll look inside. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to yachatz. We're going to break the middle matzah in half. The bigger half we're going to hide away. Now, in many houses, they call it stealing or taking or borrowing. The children borrow the matzah and they don't give it back till they get a promise of some reward. It manages to make it exciting and keep everyone. That's in many houses. In some houses, the father or the head of the Seder hides the matzah, but it doesn't have to be hidden. There were many houses where they didn't hide it at all. They just covered it. They covered it over. But the concept is that matzah, that bigger half, is hidden away for the end of the meal. And we're going to use it at the end of the meal for the afikomen. What is afikomen?
Dessert.
Wow, what do you say?
Dessert.
One more time?
Dessert.
Dessert.
Dessert, very good, dessert, excellent. Afikomen is dessert, that is correct. And what's dessert by the Passover Seder? What it's supposed to be, we don't have it, is the Paschal lamb. That's excellent. The Paschal lamb can only be eaten when the person already had the full meal and they have the Paschal lamb at the end. That's the afikomen. So we're going to have the matzah, this matzah, instead of the Paschal lamb, but it represents the dessert at the end of the meal. And the reason we're covering it or hiding it or stealing, but the reason we're putting it away is because we don't have it today and we don't know when it's going to come back. When will we get the Paschal lamb back? Well, when Messiah comes. Well, when's he coming? We hope pretty soon right now, but we don't know. So in order to represent that, we hide it away till the end of the meal, and many homes we go searching for it to show that we try to make Mashiach come. We try to do good things that he should come and redeem us. So that is the idea of yachas, of breaking the matzah, hiding away the bigger half, and the smaller half. We're about to start the Hagaddah with the smaller half. Now the smaller half represents the mitzvah of a poor man's bread, right? Halach manya, those words are, these are the bread of affliction, or the bread of a poor man, because matzah represents bread of poverty. Why is matzah bread of poverty? Well, it has very few ingredients. All it has is flour and water. Right? Generally, we don't use egg matzah. The word that's in the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, the word for egg matzah is matzah ashira, rich matzah. Well, as opposed to poor matzah. Poor matzah is a simple matzah we eat, flour, water. Once you start throwing in additives, whether it's fruit juice, whether it's eggs, whether it's chocolate, whether it's whatever it is, that becomes a different type of matzah. If you look on the box, it says it's only for people who are not well. So it says on the box, because it's questionable whether it becomes chametz quicker or not. So we try to stay away from it. The Ashkenazi custom is not to eat it for Passover. It tastes very good. After Pesach, enjoy it. But on Pesach, we try to stay away. So we have the bread of poverty. Poor man's bread, and not only is it poor man's bread, it's a broken piece. In other words, the poverty is so strong, the affliction was so strong, that we don't even have a full piece of it. We only have a broken piece of the matzah, and with that we conduct the Seder. The wording of Halach Ma'anya is very strange. Why do I say it's very strange? It's introduction to the Seder. Many homes are going to sing that first paragraph. But those words are not Hebrew. Halach Ma'anya is a language called Aramaic. Now, do you know where did they speak Aramaic? Aramaic was not spoken in Israel. Aramaic goes back to when the Jews went to exile in Babylonia. So the question, after the first temple is destroyed, why would the Hagaddah begin with a paragraph in Aramaic, and then the entire Hagaddah, literally the entire Hagaddah, goes back to Hebrew? You have a Kiddush in Hebrew, the Karpas blessing in Hebrew, just one little paragraph in Aramaic, and then everything in Hebrew till the end of the Seder, and then there's one famous song in Aramaic called Hagaddah. If you remember that song about the goat. We're not getting to that tonight. Till there, everything is Hebrew. So why would they have this one paragraph in the beginning in Aramaic? So I want to tell you a beautiful, I think, a beautiful idea. And forgive me if you heard it from me in the past, but this idea, my kids already know. They ask me, Tati, when are you talking about Bastille Day? That's the way they ask it every year. But this is a beautiful idea I once heard, and I really feel it's very meaningful to share at this point. The idea is like this. The original Hagaddah did not have this paragraph, Halach Manya. The original Hagaddah was only Hebrew, and this paragraph was not there. There's another question you can ask. It's a Jewish way to answer a question with a question, you know that. So I'm going to ask you another question. In the Halach Manya, that little paragraph, this is the bread of affliction that our forefathers ate in Egypt. Whoever's hungry, come and eat. Very famous words, right? Every Jewish organization that's raising money for Passover, they quote these words. Whoever's hungry, come and eat. Help us support that's every famous words. So let me ask you something. Does this make sense? You're sitting around the Passover Seder table, the door's closed, and you call out in a loud voice, whoever's hungry, come and eat. Well, who are you kidding? Is this the time to start inviting guests on Passover night? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
If you were inviting anyone for real, would you do it now, or would you do it a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago? And by now, everyone knows where they're going. Whatever, no one hears you. The door's closed even. What's the logic of this invitation? It's a beautiful question. I heard these two questions. Why is it Aramaic? And question two, what kind of invitation is this? The two questions obviously are going to answer each other. So I'm gonna present you a scene, if you can imagine it, of Bastille Day in France in the year 1943. So in 1943, as you all know, the Germans overran France and were control of the country. They had a government in exile in England, so you imagine on Bastille Day 1943, a father walks into his house and he tells his kids, let's make a party. We're going to celebrate Bastille Day. It's a French Independence Day. So the kids look at him like he's crazy. Independence Day? Celebrate? The Germans, the Nazis are there. What are you celebrating? What are you making where's the room for celebrating on a day like this? So now, contrast for a minute. Just think about this. The temple got destroyed, the first temple on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av in the summer. In the summer, the temple's destroyed. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, exiles the Jewish people to Babylonia. They left, a few Jews are left in Israel. The vast majority either killed, tortured, brought to Babylonia to exile. And now a father comes home the following spring on Passover night, the 15th of Nisan, and he says, let's make a Seder. Oh yeah, sure. What's a Seder about? Celebrating our freedom. What do the kids say? Freedom? Celebrating? Are you kidding? So when the father now talks about whoever is hungry, come make a Seder, he's not talking to people outside on the street. He's talking to the people around his own table. And he's telling them to come and make a Seder. And that's why it's in Aramaic, because it was added at this trying time in Jewish history. And the father is telling them that, these are the words that Halachma says. This year we're here, next year we'll be in Jerusalem. This year we're slaves, next year we'll be free. The idea that the redemption was not a one-time deal. We redeemed out of Egypt, we redeemed out of Babylonia, we redeemed out of the Greek exile, we survived the Holocaust. The Jewish people's survival is eternal. And if we're in this exile now, we're going to come out of it. And these are such powerful thoughts as we celebrate. You think about it, how Jews celebrated Seder in the Warsaw Ghetto. Jews made, we all know, it's documented, Jews made a Seder in concentration camps with whatever they had, however they did it. But can you imagine? So we're not in an easy situation now. There's no question about it. No one can make light of the situation we're in. But the fact is that God promised that we will survive, and we promised that we'll be redeemed. That's a fact. And that is the Seder that we're making this year again. And it's a very, hopefully, very comforting words and very true words, and something that hopefully can hit home and resonate with us as we prepare for this year's Seder. Okay, we're going to go a little further now. So the next thing, after the whole Achmanya, we're going to hold up this little bread of poverty, of affliction. We're going to say these words, and then we're going to, next thing we're going to do is have the child or the youngest, or if we're sitting alone, ourselves. So it says, we ask ourselves the Manishtana, the 4 questions. Why is this night different than all other nights? And the idea that we're trying to drive home is that something is special and different tonight. It's not just another party. It's not just another holiday. It's not just, there's something very different about Pesach and something meaningful to every single one of us. So we're going to ask these questions of Manishtana, and then when we give the answer, we're going to uncover the matzah. Throughout the Passover night, when we say Hagaddah, we uncover the matzah, because part of the matzah is that we're going to talk the redemption in front of uncovered matzah. Matzah is considered a holy, a spiritual food, and we say that God in front of it. I'm just going to tell you a couple ideas about matzah to think about. Matzah is all about good character traits. That's what it's about. Maybe I mentioned last time, matzah is flat, represents humility. Bread, or leavened bread, is puffed up. It's full of air, represents the ego. Matzah represents a humble person. Matzah represents a simple lifestyle. Simplicity, flour, water, not looking for extravagance and for chametz represents all sorts of additives. Person needs more and doesn't let themselves, and that is so relevant in America where every one of us is bombarded with advertisements and a whole section of society trying to convince us that we should live beyond what we can afford. That's chametz. That's not matzah. And matzah represents doing things quickly, good things that come up, like the chance to do a mitzvah, not to delay, not to procrastinate. Because when you make matzah, you have 18 minutes, and if you leave it alone, it turns into chametz. You got to take care of it anyway. I mean, matzah is a special bread, and that's what Hagaddah will be said while the matzah is uncovered. So we're going to have the matzah. We're going to answer the Manishtana. And even if we know the story already and we know all the answers to the questions, it doesn't matter. We have to say it over again, because really what we're trying to do is relive the story. Not just to say over facts and historical notes, but to feel the special redemption of Pesach night. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing and then we'll leave it for tomorrow night. The next thing is the 4 sons, right? We talk about 4 sons that we're going to address. Why 4 sons? The wise son, the wicked son, the simple son, the son doesn't know how to ask. What's there's one big point to the whole idea of the Seder representing different sons, that children are different. And a parent has to know that we have to treat each child like their own world. And we have to figure out, it's incumbent on us to try to figure out how to address each kid to what they can understand and appreciate. It's not one way marks all. Yeah, one way, sure, we all have the same mitzvahs, that's all true. But the approach to every child has to be different. Every kid has different temperament, every kid has different makeup, every kid has different needs, and it's impossible to just be rigid like a wall. And yes, you know one can cause jealousy, it's very true. But you have to figure out how to address each child. And I'm going to jump to the last child. The last child is the one who doesn't know how to ask. And Hagaddah tells us, you open him up. You open it up. And the idea doesn't mean he doesn't know how to ask. Doesn't mean he's stupid. That's not the point. Doesn't mean he doesn't know how to ask. It means he's not interested in asking. It's not interesting to him. When the Phillies play or the Eagles play, it's interesting. The Hagaddah doesn't interest him. You got to find something, somehow, that he can relate to some aspect, an interesting video about Judaism. You go to these websites, Aish is so powerful. There's so many different, you find something that he feels appropriate and send them a link and send her a link. And these are things that can turn people on. They could. And patience, 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 and patience. That's what it is. Person, you all know as being parents, you can never have enough patience. It's just something that you got to constantly reinvigorate yourself with and strengthen yourself with. And God gives us strength to be able to. Anyway, that's for tonight. I appreciate seeing you all tonight. And tomorrow night, we look forward to our second class on Hagaddah. Hopefully, we'll go through the rest of it as much as we can. And you should stay safe and healthy.